Hey pen friends, it's Kaitlin. I hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to sit down with you and talk you through what journals and notebooks I currently am using as of the midway point in 2025. This is going to be a little bit of a mid-year update, mid-year techo kaigi, notebook ecosystem, analog system, whichever current buzzword you want to use. And I'm thinking we just hang out and I'll take you through each of my notebooks one-on-one and talk to you about what I'm using the notebook for, if anything has changed, if it's new, why I brought it into my system, and yeah, we'll just go over all of that today. So make sure to grab something cozy, something to drink. Maybe you're journaling along with me, which I like to do with these kind of videos, and let's just jump into what I am using for midpoint 2025. Alright, so starting out with this notebook, this is probably one of the most familiar notebooks if you've been around a while. This one has been with me for 2 years now, but I have been using this since January of 2025 as a planner, and I am continuing to use it for that purpose as of mid-year. I'm not going to go through each system in depth because the video would be way too long, and I do have a lot of previous videos on this system and it hasn't changed very much, but this is my Passport Traveler's Notebook. This is the camel color, and this isn't specific to the system, but you can see how it started to patina, which is really nice. This cover is a bit of a darker camel, which I really love. And it's funny to look at how it started to patina. It's gotten some patina here at the front, a little bit on the spine. You can kind of see as I angle it where the grease spots, for lack of a better word, are starting to form. And yeah, this one is a notebook that I use quite frequently, if not the most, and that's because it is my planner slash kind of daily notebook, carry, bullet journal, any of those kind of words. So this is what I use to track my tasks, my events, what I need to do, where I need to be, and I do use the bullet journal method to do this. And I've adapted it for a Passport Traveler's Notebook, which is the kind of cover system that I quite enjoy using. In terms of the inside, again, I do have a video going into the setup that I have, but one small change I did make for mid-year is the book in the back. I use this book for my monthly, weekly, daily planning and note-taking, whereas this book in the front is for capturing, essentially, it's a bit of a calendar, so I have a year of calendars in here, so it's for super far future events, whereas this is something I plan month by month, week by week, day by day, very kind of OG bullet journal method if you're familiar with that. And previously I was using a 64-page Good Impressions insert, and I was finding that it just wasn't enough pages for me. Normally I would finish an insert once every 3 months or once a quarter, and the 64 pages were so close to being enough paper, but for the past 2 quarters of 2025, they would fall just 1 or 2 weeks short, which was a bit of a pickle because I didn't really want to reset up the entire month of spreads in a new book when I just had 1 or 2 weeks left of the month. So I kind of taped in pages to make it work so that I didn't have to, change inserts. But then for mid-year, I decided to upgrade from 60 or 64 pages to 80 pages. So this insert is a little beefier, but I am very happy that I won't be running out of pages every quarter anymore, and it also allows me a bit more space to write some lengthier notes, which I am very excited about. So I've already been kind of doing notes in here that I maybe normally wouldn't do. For example, here's one that I'll show. I was using this page here to log the local ciders that I've been trying in Ontario. So normally I would not give up a page for something like that because I was so low on pages before, but now I have the room, which is really nice. So it's been good to kind of be able to log that information and note take a little more freely. Besides that though, the system hasn't changed. I still really like this notebook and this system, and I've been quite happy with how this has gone so far this year, and also quite happy with myself that I have been pretty consistent with this book for the past 6 months, which is a bit of a personal record for me. So that's been really great as well. But yeah, this is the Passport Bullet Journal, still using this guy as a planner. All right, next up is the counterpart to my Passport Traveler's Notebook, which is my standard or regular Traveler's Notebook. I've had this notebook for over 4 years now, so she is a treasure in my analog system, and I've been really enjoying this year, not only using this notebook, but also just kind of using my passport and prioritizing my traveler's notebooks because they are some of my favorite notebooks to use. This one I use as a journal, and I'm still going to be using it as a journal as of right now. The only kind of swap I've done for mid-year is I have changed the insert, which I am using to journal and document my life. At the beginning of the year, I was using an undated daily insert, which is their number 5 insert. I think it's called their free diary, I believe. And I have switched to their, actually, what is this called? Here we go. I have it here. This is their vertical weekly for 2025. Interestingly enough, unlike their other inserts, the yearly ones don't have a number associated with them, so this is just the name if you're curious. And it looks like this. On the inside it has a vertical calendar. There we go. It was looking a little bright there. The sun is coming in and out. And this essentially has the hours, so you can log your days, and there's some calendars on the side. Now, I've always been a fan of this insert, but I've always struggled to figure out a way to use it that works for me and isn't kind of weird to write in, because I find that the spaces between each line are very difficult to write in, especially for my handwriting, which tends to be on the smaller side. But a couple months ago, when I was thinking of trying out this insert, I pulled out one of my undated inserts, because oftentimes I like to try to experiment and see if something works before I commit to buying an insert, just to make sure that it's going to work and I know how I want to use it. And what I discovered with this insert that really helped me figure out how to use it is that for me, in my handwriting, and this is kind of an example of when I was playing around with the insert and trying to figure out how it could potentially work for me, was I actually used a highlighter. This is a mild liner. And what I would do is I would make highlighted lines across the section with about 2 in between these 2 lines. And then I would write over the highlighter. And essentially what this allowed was a bit of a writing guide, which made it a lot easier for me to write in this insert. I also am just horrible with writing in a straight line, so if you're better at that, you probably don't have this problem. But for me, this was a big game changer and really unlocked this insert as a possibility for me to use for documenting and journaling about my day. So since it is the beginning of July, I don't really have anything in this insert yet, since it does start in the first week of July, but I thought I would show you a couple spreads I made in here, which were part of my kind of trial for this insert, so you could see the kind of journaling that I've been doing to document my days. Okay, so this is the first spread. I think I'll show you 3 probably, and as you can see, we have the highlighters marking out the sections that I wanted to write down. It's kind of a bit of a rapid log of the daily events, which I quite like. It's nice because I don't have to write too much of a description about what happens each day. I can just kind of write down the event itself and then what I do is I use sticky notes to add details where I want to add a little more information about something I'm documenting. So for example here, there was the Monte Carlo or Monaco Grand Prix this weekend. So I wanted to write down who won the race, who came in P2 and P3, as well as any kind of notable moments that I wanted to remember when watching the race. Here I went to a burger place and I wanted to write down the burgers that were on the menu that were being evaluated. It was like a bit of a burger face-off, if you will. So I wanted to write down the burgers so I would remember their names. And then the only other thing I really do is I add dot stickers to the top to mark down dates that have a special event happening on them so I can pay attention to those. And then I have these tear out calendar inserts by Moomin. It's this 2025 Moomin calendar that has a page per day and you tear the pages out every day. And I really love the art used in that calendar, so I thought I would cut it down and use it on certain journal pages when there was one I really liked. So I have been enjoying doing this as well, and it's been a nice way to use up some of the pages from my tearaway calendar. This is another week. This one was a little more simple. I taped in a note that I got when I got a package in the mail, Spanish Grand Prix, some information on some songs I was enjoying from an album I was listening to. This one, I went to see a movie, so I taped in the ticket, which I just really like how that looks, and also just in general I find the insert structure of the traveler's notebook works well for taping in tickets and photos because these inserts only last a short period of time. I'll also write down things that I know I'm interested in the future, like right now I'm doing a playthrough. Well, it's not my first playthrough, but it's another playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom. So this week I just wanted to note down the different things that I did during a couple gaming sessions I had during the week. And yeah, this is pretty much the same discovered Scrabble. I had no idea Scrabble could actually be such a fun game. I kind of prejudged it and thought it was boring because it was all words, but it's actually a really good game. Moomin calendar tearaway, and then highlights from the Canadian Grand Prix. And those are the example threads I thought I would show you. That's how I'm thinking I want to continue journaling in this guy right here in this insert. And I'm excited to not have to custom write in the dates. I'm very happy that that is done for me. So yeah, this guy will continue to be my memory keeping journal, just with a bit of a different insert. And I am still thinking of repurposing my number 5 inserts that I have that are new. And for those, I'm thinking instead of it kind of being a day-to-day use, I'm gonna save those for trips where I have maybe a little more I wanna document, more tickets and photos that I want to stick in. And then the nice thing is I can archive those along with this insert, so they are all together. Next up is a bit of a new addition. I've been using this notebook for over 3 months now, but for you, I think it will be the first time that I've showed you and talked to you about it. And this is, I don't really have a good name for it, but I will explain how I've been using it, and maybe if you have an idea, you can let me know in the comments. But to give you a bit of background on what inspired this notebook and why I've integrated this into my system, I read the book Getting Things Done by David Allen sometime I think in March of this year, so it's been quite a while. But when I read the book, and it was my first time actually reading the book all the way through, I found a lot of his ideas and concepts around the getting things done method to be things that I thought would be really helpful in my kind of analog system, notebook system, how I organize my life. And this is one of the notebooks that I've added as part of integrating that system into the current planning and organization tools that I use in my life currently. One of the big concepts I took away from reading Getting Things Done by David Allen was the importance of, one, capturing items as they come in a tangible way that is not in your brain, so either digitally or on paper, and then taking that kind of capture tool or that net where you've caught all of these things and taking each thing but one by one and sorting it and putting it into the appropriate place. Where this book comes in is this book is essentially my book form of a next actions list. I'm probably going to oversimplify the book a bit, so I apologize if there's any getting things done method experts out here, but essentially when I read the book, in terms of tasks, there's kind of two places that they can usually go. If you have a task that needs to be done on a specific day, then David Allen would suggest that you should put it into your calendar so you can schedule the task. So that didn't really change in terms of my planner, since this is for kind of date-specific tasks anyway for the most part. But one of the kind of key concepts within David Allen's sorting process is having a list called your next actions list, which is where you capture all of those non-date specific tasks that don't need to be done on a specific day, and then you can kind of tackle the tasks as you need to, or if it then becomes something you need to schedule, you can go ahead and do that. So what I did to kind of incorporate this into my planning system was I added this notebook, and this is just an A6 Stalogy, but it's just a plain grid notebook in a fun little superior labor cover. And this is where I will just jot down all of my next actions that are not date specific. So everything date specific still goes in here, so date specific events, date specific tasks, but then anything not date specific in the form of like tasks, information obviously is a bit of a different situation, goes into this book. And I found this has been incredibly helpful, especially for those little tasks where you need to do it, but there isn't really a specific time or day you need to do it, and you want to write it down, but you don't want it to kind of fill up the space in your weekly plans or daily plans and have that take away from the tasks that actually need to be done in that time frame. So because I was testing out this system, I did just use a notebook that I had used previously for a bunch of scratch notes, which is why there's random stuff on the right hand side, but the left hand side shows you a little bit of what I do. It's really nothing fancy, it's literally just a list, and I will write down all my next actions. When I either migrate or do it, I will cross it off. And the only thing that I do that's a little different than David Allen's method is I like to rewrite this list every quarter so that I kind of have an opportunity to reset, clear out the tasks that I can maybe do easily just to kind of get them done with, so I don't have them sitting in to do, and migrate any of the tasks that need to be migrated that I don't want to do as part of that quarter or that season. So that's pretty much what I've been doing with this book. It's incredibly simple. I did think about creating this list in my Passport Traveler's Notebook, but for some reason, and it's not a logical one, I just prefer having this separate. I find it easier to have this book open and then have my planner open and be able to go in between them, and I just find that having it in this notebook is working really well for me right now. So this is the newest edition, and that is what I do in this notebook. I will mention quickly for my kind of capturing tool, or the net that I mentioned earlier, that is done with a vertical 8.5 by 11 notepad by Rhodia. This isn't a notebook, so I didn't include it in this video, but I will maybe do a separate video going into more detail about how I use GTD in my organization system and with my bullet journal in case you do want more details. Okay, and these are the main books that I have been using right now and focusing on for my kind of notebook system for mid-year. I will mention quickly, I am still considering keeping my 5-year in my system. It's kind of a maybe right now. So I have been prioritizing my traveler's notebook just because I really love using my traveler's notebooks. But this one might come back or stay in the mix. I haven't decided, but I did want to mention this guy quickly in case anyone was curious. However, these three are kind of the main pillars of my notebook system as of right now. And that was pretty much everything I wanted to go over today. I hope you enjoyed seeing what notebooks I'm using as of mid-year 2025. Let me know below what you are using. And besides that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.